Hello, welcome back to Two Girls Without Cancer. I'm here with
Ashley.
I am Becky. We have another fantastic episode for you. Granted, I'm biased, but I don't know.
It's true. They all are.
Tell me
That's
one
fine.
episode that wasn't good.
Right?
Okay. No, I've loved everyone that we've had on this season.
Mhm.
And I loved all the things that we did last year
Mhm.
on that season.
That was our first one, and this one they're all going to be different, I think.
Totally. Like I said, I'm biased, but we picked these guests specifically because what their story is or how they help people really appeals to us. And so in this particular case, our guest,
Whatever.
It's called Liz. It's called, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to edit all this. On this particular episode, our guest is Liz. I promise it doesn't go like this normally.
Okay. Whoever knows.
Okay. On this episode, our guest is Liz Rodriguez, and she is a transformation coach working with former athletes in their 40s to break free from their all or nothing patterns and rebuild in strength, energy, confidence through a method that she has called Strength and Longevity Method. So I'm very interested to hear more about that. So please welcome Liz to our show.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for that great intro.
I don't know what just happened. I'm normally pretty well versed in this. There's something about
that's why I don't do it.
Liz Rodriguez. It just did not come off my tongue very well. You know what? I probably won't edit it because it's fun and it's real.
It makes sense.
So thank you so much for being here. Yeah. When I had made the post looking for guests on our show, yours just really stood out to me as something that interests us. Now, granted, Ashley and I are pushing 40. Ashley will be 40 in a few months. I will be next year. But I mean, her and I were both quite athletic in our pre-cancer days, fairly fit, fairly active, quite active. I don't know about you. I was quite an athlete as a kid. And it's like, I want to be there again. As I watch my daughter do track and field, my other daughter do soccer, and I'm like, the thought of running is like so tough for me. And I'm like, oh, my body hurts. I don't have the energy. I'm not. And it's like, I'm going to be 40 soon. Like, I don't want to go downhill. I want to just continue to go uphill at 40. You know?
Exactly.
So that's why your story spoke to me, and that's why you are here today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to be here. I'm excited to share whatever I can with the audience, and hopefully they walk away from, I always say, like, regardless of the type of podcast I'm on, I always want the listeners to walk away with like real tidbits. Like, that's why they're listening, right? Like, we're going to have some good stories. We're going to be jiving. We're going to be joking, but we're also going to like walk away with some stuff too,
some like real life skills that we need. Yes. And that's my hope with all of our podcasts, all of the guests. We've had on cancer survivors, we've had on dietitians, nutritionists, people who work with Ozempic. I mean, granted, Ozempic's not my jam, but like it might be for someone who needed more information on it, right? We've talked to gut specialists, we've talked to mold experts, like we've talked to counselors, yoga teachers. Like, if someone does something that helps somebody, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? We want to hear it. So tell us about your coaching, Liz Rodriguez coaching.
And where are you from? Sorry.
I'm actually from Chicago. We were talking earlier.
Awesome.
I'm in South Carolina right now. It's confusing, but I am actually, you're going to hear it. This twang is coming back full throttle. I was living in New York for a while and I came back. I'm like, ooh. So yeah, I am originally born and bred in Chicago for the first 34 years before we started moving around and stuff. So yeah.
Love that.
So tell us about your coaching. Like, tell us what brought you to where you are at today, or you can give us your history. Take it however you want. There's no direction on this show.
Ooh, yeah. I actually just celebrated 20 years in fitness a couple of weeks ago, which is sort of it's kind of crazy because it's like almost half my life, right? I'm 42 and a half, whatever. So it's been a long journey, but I'll give you kind of the big tidbits is I've always been an athlete. When I went away to college, I was a college athlete. I was a long distance runner. So, track and cross country, all that stuff. And so when I got out, I knew that I wanted to help people. But I really didn't know in what capacity. And I wound up becoming a personal trainer and just kind of dove into the industry. And I had a great trajectory. I got into management really early. I was able to work at a lot of different clubs. I was at the same company for 12 years. So I learned a ton, all that stuff. But I think, really fast forward to as I got into my 30s, with my own health, I was starting to notice that, you know, the things that I had always done just weren't working anymore, right? Like I wanted to work out hard all the time. I also was in a very male dominated industry. So, I mean, even my husband says it, like, I was like a different person there. Like my voice would change when I was around, when I was like managing, you know, like you have to kind of be a different, I was creating a different.
Adapt your surroundings, I guess.
Exactly.
Or like peacocking almost.
Yeah.
Like having to be like,
yeah.
Right. And I noticed that, you know, I was constantly trying to keep up with the workouts and do like the same nutrition, and like it would like work for a little bit and then it wouldn't, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I've put on like 20 pounds, like 30 pounds. Like what's going on here? And I was constantly exhausted. And what I always blamed it on was, well, I just need to change like how I'm working. Cause I'm like, I'm getting my MBA and I'm like still working full time. And it's just because of all of those things. And so when we moved out to New York and I started working for some different companies, that's when things got really, unfortunately, really bad. And I wound up, I had to get back surgery, which most people are not going to have to do that. So I don't want to scare anybody on there, but I had a massive herniation and they were like, if you don't get this done, if you got in a car accident right now, you could be paralyzed. That's how much.
Jeez,
that's scary.
Out. So all of a sudden it was like, all the stuff that you want to do, you need to stop. Your identity as a runner, as a fitness trainer, as everything, that all needs to stop because you got to prep, because my surgery was 2 weeks later. And so after that, all of a sudden it was like, I don't think that I know that I'm in the wrong, I'm not approaching things the right way, but I don't really know where I'm supposed to go from here. And since I was out in New York during COVID, I had a little bit of time off because the gym's closed down for 6 months. And kind of had some like, you know, where am I going with my career sort of thing. And that's when I went down the health coaching route and I became a board certified health and wellness coach. And I did it because, I'm going to need to pick up new skills. And I had started virtually training, but really what it taught me was you have not been taking care of yourself. You, Liz, right? Like, I was not sleeping well. I was not eating how I should have been. I was working out too much. There was recovery to me was like, I just take a day off. That's recovery. No. Right. And so as I started to coach women with the health coaching, all of a sudden it was like, there's something here. Like it was my best analogy for everybody out there that has like goes to a gym. I want you to think that you committing and going to a gym and being on a regular program, that's like step 9. Okay. And then step 1 is, you know what? I think I need to start working out. Think of all of those steps in between in terms of the decisions that you make of like what you eat and how you work out, where you get your information, all that. And that's where I wanted to start to work. And specifically, you know, I think that you want to work with people that are like you. And I wanted to help those former athletes out there that feel like, you know, we're in our late 30s, we're in our 40s, and like, I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to do all these things. And yet I feel like I got brain fog all the time. And I feel like I need to sleep all the time. And I feel like I have a big meal and then I feel like shit for 2 weeks.
Like we're going through puberty is what it feels like.
I feel like this weird change. And so as I started to do more research and really dive more into the health coaching, it was like, I need to take all of the info, all of the knowledge that I've gotten these last 2 decades, and I'm going to create something. And that's really where my strength and longevity method came from. And it was my way to say, there are so many women out there like myself that they want to feel fit. They want to feel strong. They got the wrong playbook, right? Like they're still trying to do the intermittent fasting. Don't do that, women, by the way. They want to like, you know, do the HIIT workouts and the endless cardio. And where is it getting them? It's making them actually gain more weight, feel like shit, and then their bodies don't feel like they're theirs anymore, right? And we're already going through this weird change where we're getting into midlife. I hate saying midlife because it's weird.
I don't feel it.
In our 40s, we're all like, we're not old. Like we're still we're still hip and cool. Like we say hip and cool. And so I really wanted to create some tools out there for women to say, like, there is a different way forward where you can create and you can become a different type of athlete at this point in your life. And that's really, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So
I kind of want to know how you feel about cardio. What is your, like, should women do an hour? Should they do 20 minutes? Should they do it not eating? Should they fast before? Like, there's so many different things. It's like, should I do HIIT? Should I do, see, for me, working out has been my thing my whole life. I started when I was in my like 20, maybe 20, 22. And all the way up until I got sick, that was my life. I lived for it, you know? And then when all that stuff happened and I couldn't go, that broke me a lot, because that was my outlet, that was my addiction, and that was where I needed to be, right? But anyways, that's kind of off topic. But how do you see cardio for women, or for anyone that matter?
Yeah, and absolutely. And when we talk about cardio, I'm going to talk about it kind of high level, and then I'm going to kind of drill down to those of us that are perimenopausal. And by the way, those of you, if you're like, I don't really know what's happening,
all of us, we got into early.
It can start as early as in your 30s, and a lot of things, different sicknesses and diseases can make it come up earlier. I always say, check with your mom, right? Like, that's always going to be your first line of defense. But you guys obviously have a little bit of a different case because of where your life has gone and what has happened, right? But in terms of overall, like when we talk about cardio and women, like if they looked up in the Google dictionary, like we're looking at, we want to be getting in and around somewhere between like 150 and 300 minutes a week of cardio. Okay. So now we have like a number. Okay. So like what type of cardio does that mean? And really, as we get into more perimenopause, what's starting to happen is that we're starting to lose a little bit more muscle, a little bit more rapidly, and our metabolism is changing as well as our hormone levels are changing. And so what I encourage more women, like let's say the women out there that are like, I'm not doing anything right now. Okay. So you're not going to start with 300 minutes. You're going to start with, an hour each week, and you're going to split it up. And I want you to go out for a walk or for a bike ride where, you know what, you're feeling good, you're sweating, you're not dying. And like, when you finish, you're like, that was kind of nice. Like, I feel good. And what we're going to say, like, we could go into all the specifics of what that is, but we're just going to say that we want you to get in more like aerobic cardio, where it's a little tough to talk, but I could still have a conversation with my girlfriend if I want to go out, right? And then from there, slowly incrementing, I say never add more than like a half hour each week, and then getting up to that 300 minutes. And so that's really where I have a lot of women like do their cardio is going to be more, I guess the catchphrase in fitness is more kind of steady state cardio, but doing it in a way that, you know, even if you wanted to go in and do an hour where when you finish, you don't feel exhausted. So if you're doing that 20 to 30 minutes and you're like, I think I'm good, that's what your body needs right now. Right. So that's like a great place just in terms of where to kind of start with cardio.
So listen to your body when you're doing it.
Yes.
Exactly. And when it says, okay, I'm done, then get off. Don't push it.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Also, listen to our podcast while you're doing cardio. A great way to pass the time.
Right?
I always listen to podcasts while I work out. I don't need the music. I need some murder.
So much information we got here.
Totally. So I have heard that for women, once you enter your 40s, doing cardio can actually just like spike your cortisol and make you gain weight.
Yeah.
Is there
so let's talk about
that?
Yeah. So really what's starting to happen is like, it's more when we're getting into those things where like, we're doing more like HIIT style workouts and like really high intensity. Like I'm going to pick on CrossFit a little bit. There's nothing wrong with CrossFit. We're just going to use it as an example because people resonate like, oh, okay, I get that type of workout. Right. And what's happening is that we're pushing ourselves into this higher heart rate zones where our body's not able to recover. And then all of a sudden we're allowing more cortisol to happen in our body. And I don't want to get too like in the weeds here, but I also want to kind of paint a picture because there's a lot of things that we all do on a regular basis that's making us spike even more. And then it's like making our workouts even worse, meaning if we're not getting enough sleep, people are going to hate me when I say this. We have new research out now that women that are perimenopausal, menopausal, we might need up to 10 hours of sleep per night.
I've heard that too.
And right? I love
me. I'm like, I got 5 today. Perfect.
I get in bed early.
Right? And the reason for that is that we're literally trying to like make sure that all of our adrenals and everything, like our hormones are like getting back in, right? Like if we are not fully recovered, that's why we're needing a little bit more sleep than men. So think of that. Let's say you're not getting enough sleep. And then what's the first thing we're going to grab in the morning? What's the first thing we're consuming?
Coffee, usually.
Coffee.
A stimulant.
Which is leading all of a sudden that our brains are going like, oh my God, what's happening? And then that's going to spike our cortisol. So I also want to encourage those listening that like when you're trying to do fasted cardio, when the first thing you consume is going to be coffee, and then you're not sleeping as well, you already got some stuff happening that's kind of making everything go woohoo. And then you're going to go to that boot camp workout and you're going to beat the shit out of yourself for an hour. That's what we mean in terms of like, hey, is cardio bad? No, but we want to actually look at it more as it's going to be better in the long run for you just to like do some more kind of steady state aerobic. And the other thing I will throw in, and this is, I'm not going to steal from her, but Dr. Stacy Sims, freaking amazing. Go out and look. She's got a great book called Roar. And she does a lot of her own research when it comes to women, more menopausal, but it's going to apply here. It's to get in a couple of high intensity, like 2 high intensity workouts each week, which you're going to laugh how easy this is. You're going to warm up. Let's say you're going to go out for a little bit of a jog. This is going to be for Becky, right? Let's say you walk for 5 minutes and then you're just like, okay, I'm going to sprint as hard as I can for 30 seconds. And then I'm going to walk for a couple minutes till I'm recovered. And I'm going to do it 4 times. And then that's it. And what that's doing is it's allowing your body to work in those higher heart rates, but you're giving yourself enough time to recover that you finish it. And then the next day you're like, oh, cool. So I got in my anaerobic work for all my fitness people out there. But most of the cardio you're going to wind up doing is going to be more in the aerobic. So
interesting. Okay. I like that because I had heard this about, the women in the 40s or whatever, and how cardio was harmful or whatever. And I'm thinking like, I know cardio is good for you. Like if anything for heart health, right? To oxygenate, right? So it's like, I don't want to not do these things.
Could walking on an incline be just as good as that HIIT, like sprint, walk, sprint,
Absolutely.
walk?
Absolutely. Yeah. You could do like walking at an incline. If you have access to like a bike or even an upright bike, like if you're at the gym, you could use the elliptical for it. It's really going to be anything. Or if you want to kind of get creative, because we're only talking about 30 seconds, that could be like a row machine, right? Like the row. Right.
I do that every day. I love that. That's my thing.
Jump rope. It could be anything that's just going to kind of get that heart
rate
up.
Boost your heart rate, and then you can slow it down at your own pace. Yeah, my daughter, who again track like you, she's a sprinter though, but they put her on the bike, especially if her shins are really sore. They'll put her on a spin bike, and they'll make her do HIIT. You're going to do 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, whatever, for X amount of time. And it's like, Mom, I hate it. I'm so tired. I'm like, good. It's good for you. Get it done. Right. And then obviously I don't take my own advice. Like I could just go downstairs and use the bike and also do it. But
I'm slowly starting to get back into having my passion again for it, because that was the one thing that killed me that I didn't have. And now it's
hard on your mental health too, if that's like part of your identity. And like you were saying as well, how just things that you were doing, all of a sudden you have to like get back surgery, right? It's like it's hard on your identity if that's part of you in your daily routine to not have that.
Makes so much sense.
I feel like I didn't have anything prior to getting sick that I was like very consistent with though. So it's like I didn't feel that same thing.
But your heart was always a giver. You're always doing this, and you're always
I guess I never stopped doing that. I just overworked myself.
It was just a different doing.
Yeah. Cool. So then what about like weightlifting? Because that's where I focus on more. When I go to the gym, I mostly do weights because my muscles have just disappeared over the last 2 years, right? Atrophy, whether that's chemo, radiation, lack of use, whatever. I'm weak. And so I'm at the gym the other day and I'm in physio and she's like, we're trying to strengthen the mastectomy site. And she's got me with 3 pounds. And I'm a lot stronger than 3 pounds, but I'm doing it. And I'm like, right? I'm embarrassed at how weak I am.
I still can't open jars by myself yet. And I'm like,
You're doing some farmer's walks. Have you walked around the gym?
Hard.
It's hard.
I had 3 surgeries in 8 months and they cut me open quite badly. Like the second one was really major. So it tore everything up. And then like they took a metal brush and scraped out my peritoneum because the cancer spit everywhere. And then they just went in there and started cleaning everything. Yeah, that's crazy. But so it really messed me up. And then my 3rd surgery was my bowel obstruction, and that put me flat out. It was like, your body's done.
Well, when they're working on your core, that's like everything.
And it's that's why when I try and do that motion, I still have to go get my 66-year-old mother to go open that jar for me because I can't do it.
There's weak, and then there's your 66-year-old mother opening a jar for you weak.
She's got that older lady strength.
She's got that like farm lady strength. Yeah.
I was like, Mom. She's like, okay, Annie.
So funny.
My self-esteem's like,
like, I'm so weak, especially as someone who was so strong prior,
exactly.
right?
And that's the thing. I could curl 25 pounds and now I'm like 5 pounds. It's hard.
It's hard work. I mean, if you don't use it, you lose it. Like that, it's an expression for a reason. It is so true. And so, like, I keep hearing things like menopause doesn't have to be painful, aging doesn't have to be painful. Not, even for women, like menstruating doesn't have to be painful. It's just like all more of a lifestyle.
And looking at it through a different light too, like having a different approach to things.
Right. So anyway, I was asking about weightlifting before. So no, it's okay. Obviously, I'm guessing that you think weightlifting is very important.
It totally is. And I'm going to expand on this a little bit because I always like to also think of societal factors when it comes to things like this. And we basically grew up that, like, you join a gym and, like, you're a girl, right? What do they usually? Okay, great. Like, here's our class schedule. You're probably, there's the cardio machines over there.
Right. Put you in
and then the guy walks in and they're like, here's where the weightlifting is. You're going to be over here. And so there's a disconnect right there. Like, I don't know. It was probably a dude. And it's nothing, guys. It's not. Just stay with us if you're listening, right? But
we're not men bashers here. This is just the way it is.
But we're going to bash the men that are like, you know what? Since this is what guys do, what we're going to do is we're just going to, like, lighten the weight and add the reps. And that's probably what women need. Why? So essentially, really, when it comes to strength training and things, we were kind of taught, like, 2 to 3 sets, 15 reps kind of thing. And that's cool. And actually, that is a great place for people to start, right? Like, so if you are out there and you're listening and you're like, I'm not doing any strength training, cool. So I want you to go to the gym, find, like, they always have, like, all the machines in a row. I want you to get on each machine, do 15 reps and do 1 set. And that's going to be good for, like, first couple weeks. Why?
To start out.
The beginning.
That's going to be your volume, right?
And start going.
Well, and just getting your muscles used to it again. I love
getting
that.
your muscles used to it and, like, kind of figuring out, like, okay, I'm doing the chest press. Like, does this feel okay? Do my shoulders feel okay? And the next day you're like, cool, I felt that here. My neck feels okay. But eventually, like, where we kind of want to go, specifically when we talk about, so if we know that our hormones are kind of going haywire, we're more likely to start losing muscle mass, which also impacts bone health. And always think, I know this sounds weird, but muscle grows out of bone. So when we're talking about, like, weight bearing activity, it's always going to be twofold, meaning you want to do enough weight bearing activity that you're stimulating bone growth, which stimulates muscle growth. Isn't that weird to think about? But
yeah, totally
connected.
It's all connected. And so really the end goal is that eventually you're getting to a point, like, twice a week where you're doing around somewhere between, like, 3 and 5 sets, around, like, that 6 to 8 reps. Now people are going to hear that and they're like, that sounds heavy. Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I said start with just a set and do that for maybe a couple weeks. Once you feel good with that, okay, now I'm going to go 2 sets. And now I'm going to go 3 sets and I'm going to start to drop those reps a little bit. And when we're getting to, like, that, we always want to have, like, 2 in the bag, right? So if I'm doing 6 reps, I could have done 8, but I'm going to keep 2 in the bag. That's always, like, a good rule of thumb. But, and then where else do I want to go with that? Yeah. And when we talk about, if we're getting kind of more specific, is, you basically kind of want to move your body in all these different motions. That's why, we talk about push, we talk about pull, we talk about press, with our legs, with our arms and all that, and doing all those basic movements for a couple of sets. But don't feel like, because what happens as we start to get more into lots of high reps and things like that, that can actually kind of lead to a little bit more, like, stress response in the body, just like we talked about
damage.
With a little bit more damage. Yeah.
So then what is your outlook on grouping? Would you do
like supersets?
Yeah. And, like, tries, buys, like, what would you pair together?
What, for the most part, because at the end of it, I want people to be really consistent. And I feel like consistency is, like, 2 times a week, right? Like, lifting 2 times a week. So I always say do everything. Like, just get in.
What if you went 5 days in a row? Would you split it up?
Yeah, I would split it up. I would say, like, okay, I'm going to do lower body, then I'm going to do upper body, I'm going to do lower, I'm going to do upper, and then maybe I'll do more of, like an accessory day, like, like, we get the whole, like, frat boy Friday thing where that comes from, is like, so I'm going to, like, let's say I'm going to do, like, pushing and, like, pulling that first day, and then the next day I'm going to do the lower body version of that. and then the next day after. So you know what I mean? So that's
because I split the upper and lower, alternate them, and then either at the start or at the finish, I'll do full body.
Perfect.
That's how I've always done it, though, and it's always worked.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like to superset.
Yeah.
Like this one. Because I love working out.
I do like a superset because then you're not just like, oh my God, I'm on this same machine. Right.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't ever, like, if I do superset, it's like only just different arm ones, whatever, pushing and pulling.
Yeah.
It's never like, go to your arms, go to your legs, go to your arms.
No.
Nothing like that. I mean, I've been with trainers who've done that, but no. So I was at physio yesterday, and this is what she had said. Now, she didn't say anything about leaving 2 in the bag. She had said for me, like, anything that isn't like, so this motion is hard for me just with like the mastectomy. Anything up here, she said, just do X amount of reps and you want X amount in the bag after. She said, you do not want to go to exhaustion on that one.
You want to be able to
but the ones that I'm strong enough to do, like pulling and stuff like this, she said, yeah, just lift heavy till you can't. Oh, interesting. So instead of like, because I said, should I go low and slow, like more and or short and heavy, and she definitely leaned more towards short and heavy.
Exactly. And to expand on that a little bit too, we are assuming that the people listening is there's nothing going on, right? Like you've got, so what we haven't really touched on yet is going to be sort of, we'll say, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, core and mobility. And when we say those words, I think we're a little bit more versed in them now. When we talk about core, and I really want to remind people, core runs, you guys know this more than I do, from how you feel with the different surgery and stuff you had, from your neck down to your pelvis. And it's all these different layers and striations. I always say it's kind of like one of those like finger traps, you know?
Yes.
So it's not as simple as like, we have our transverse and we have our rectus abdominis and we got our obliques. It's so much more than that. And for women, specifically like our pelvic area, right? Whether we have kids or not, that's where all the goods are at, right? That's where all the important stuff is. So we want to make sure that when we talk about core work, that's actually in all of our workouts. So if I go out for a walk or a run, I'm using my core. If I'm doing, body squats and I'm holding a weight, I'm using my core. So I want to encourage that part where look at, what type of, how are you engaging your core during your workout? And then when we talk about mobility can get a little bit more confusing, but to kind of expand with like what your physio was touching on is right now, your shoulder flexion isn't great. Right. And so what she doesn't want you to do is like grab a huge weight and then like try to do it, because remember, if you can't go there without a weight, we want you to get that in. And basically that 3-pounder is what it's doing. It's almost giving you feedback because it's a lightweight. Like, it's like, okay, where is my arm going? And you're building back a different type of strength, because you're starting from a position. We're just working with a woman like this week that had been through cancer. And she's like, I hate that I'm shaking. I hate that this is so hard. And I'm like, but you've lost more muscle than the normal 50-year-old because of what you've been through.
Right.
You have to know that it's going to take a little bit longer and more incremental steps for you to gain that muscle back that technically, if everything was normal, you would still have. Right. So that's what I encourage people to hear is that, we talk about core, and I think people recognize that when we talk about mobility, it's essentially making sure that all of your major joints in your body, so much to think shoulders and trunk rotation and like your hips, if that mobility is kind of crappy, how are you going to go and do like a squat? Like I'm comparing like a front squat where I'm like holding a weight. If you can't move your hips, how are you going to do that movement? And that's why mobility is also going to play into how much can I lift and how heavy can I lift if my mechanics are not great. And that's why if you start from scratch, there is nothing wrong with machines, right? Machines have evolved a lot. I think that they're so much better. Like me being 5'4", I can go in and use any machine. It used to be, I would say 10 years ago when I would go into different gyms and I'm like, I can't get this to fit me. But I think that we've evolved a lot more where most machines are really set up. I think as long as you're like over 5 foot, which is going to be still not everybody, but I think we're
majority of adults. Yes.
We're going to say majority. So yeah, that's my long answer.
That's cool.
I know the twisting, like I still can't.
Well, probably from all the surgery and like even scar tissue.
Go to the bathroom, it's hard.
Like that
to get
twist
back
motion.
there.
But I also wonder too if
But it's
maybe
all-
it's less this and maybe your back muscles are tight.
But now I have arthritis in my back. I have bursitis. I don't know what the hell in my hip
bursitis.
now. I had a blood clot. A vein just collapsed on me like 2 months ago, and it was all from I had. Do you know what SIBO is?
Mm-mm.
So after I had those 3 surgeries, my stomach would blow up to like I was 9 months pregnant, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't eat. I couldn't poop because I had methane and hydrogen SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So that pressure, and it just it made everything worse. So from the get-go, from my 3rd surgery, I couldn't heal properly. So it kind of just set me up for failure.
I guess if there's no room, it's like, think of when you're pregnant and it's just pushing everything out of the plate.
I got to the point where it was like shelving over, and my ribs and like trying to breathe was the hardest part for me. And like I couldn't physically get out of bed because the pain and the pressure, like I was going to explode. Because your intestines literally fill up with gas, hydrogen and methane gas. It's crazy. I dealt with that for what I'd say a year and a half since October. Well, this October will be 2 years. And then now I've done so much research. Like the medicines they put you on, that doesn't work. Like all that stuff, it's hard. You have to really.
They're like this: painkiller, antibiotic, antidepressant.
Pretty much
your cocktail to deal with it.
I was like, that's not good enough for me. But like all that after what I went through, plus that, it's really hard for me to get this, and everything does sit in our core, and that's the one thing that I have a problem with. Like even when my first few days at the gym, because that's like I love it, I was so happy just to be there, but I was unstable. Like my whole body, like I'm trying to lift these weights and I'm shaking, and then I'm falling over. And I'd always, like when I started yoga, they have a pole in the class, and I have to make sure I'm by that pole so I can catch myself or I can lean on something, because I don't have any stability. But I'm trying. And I know it will come with time, but it was a
baby
long
steps
journey. And like in my mind, I would separate her, the old Ashley who worked out, who did this, who all these things, to this one. And it was hard for me in the beginning because I was so sad that I couldn't lift my weight that I was at, and I looked deathly, and I'm like, I got really long legs and they're really skinny. Now I can't seem to get weight on them, and it's just like you go through such a crazy, like your mind and everything. But now I'm kind of over that, and I'm starting to heal now, and it's great. It took a lot to get there though.
And I think that is something that we all face in different ways.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because I think that we're getting to this point in our life where we're sort of like half of it's behind us, and then we have the other half in front of us. Yet this part in front of us is completely different. Like think of all of the changes that your body goes through, that your life goes through from 0 to 40, right? Like you were in school and you go to college and you get your first job, and maybe you're getting married, and maybe that's when you're having kids. Like all of these crazy things are happening. And then all of a sudden you're like, so now where am I at? And I work on this a lot with my clients, is also figuring out like your identity is going to need to shift, and like, what do you want that identity to be about? And especially when we talk about the mindset, this is when I realized, like, I was working with some different beta clients that were not athletes, and I was like, I need to work with former athletes because we're different. Just like I don't typically work with people with kids. You know why? Because I don't have kids. I have no idea what goes on in that world. You should have a coach that has kids that like gets what you're going through. I don't.
Right.
Makes sense.
Right. I tend to attract more former athletes and a lot of like business entrepreneurs and stuff, probably because I'm an entrepreneur. And I think it's that saying, like, this is where your life is right now. You cannot go back. Like I've run a 3:41 marathon. I've deadlifted 200 pounds. I've squatted 210. I've whatever. All that stuff I'm never going to do again. And that's okay. What are the things that I get to do now though? Like what's going to be like my future life, and like, how do I want to feel and look? And the biggest thing, I was just, because I'm getting ready, I'm prepping for I'm going to do a live workshop next month on this whole notion of like, why, so let's say that you want to look and feel a certain way. Do you care how to get that way though? Like, meaning like if it's totally different than all the workouts and the nutrition that you used to do, are you okay with that changing if the end result is what you want? And I think sometimes we hold on to these weird things, like we want to do it this way. And I think part of that is, I was just talking about this on my last podcast, is we grew up in a time, we're millennials, right? We're older millennials. And we were like,
how dare you, first of all,
right? Like we can be anything and we can have everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we do, but I see so many women that are struggling where they're trying to balance all these things. And then they're still that, I got to get along with everybody and I got to make sure that this happens. And you know what I mean? Like there's so much other like underlying stuff of like, why are you how you are right now? And like, how do we get you in a different mindset? Because it's not just going to be about what you're eating and what you're lifting. Right.
Yeah.
I actually like that for you. Again, I was fairly unstructured my entire life. I'm like, she's very structured. So for you, there is that depression type piece that comes with
a lot
trying to live in the past, but not achieving that.
Only 2 months I've been mentally better. It has only been 2 months that I'm finally like, I'm going to be okay. I can breathe.
But I think like being able to adapt, like Liz
and
was
that's
saying,
what I literally had to do.
Yeah.
Because I held on to that. I wanted to be her so badly that I couldn't see who I was in this right now. I couldn't accept her. I didn't want to. But then once you truly do that work and you change that mindset and you really look at like what's your future going to be like, it does change you. And you find a new appreciation, you know, it's like, I went to the gym for 30 minutes today. It's like, you know, before it's like 2 hours or twice a day, you know, I'm like, I did it. Just even to walk into something. I remember my first yoga class. I'm like, I really don't know if I can be here. And I went and I did half the class and I was, well, not even half the class, but you know what I mean? I was just there and that even started my like healing journey.
I love it.
Yeah. Just accepting where you are now, because even for professional athletes, you can have the time of your life when you're 20 into your 30s, but you know, eventually you're going to hit 40, eventually you're going to hit 50. You're not going to be that anymore. And that's okay, right? Your body changes. Like granted, yeah, the goal for all of us is that we're going to live to 90 and be like super fit athlete grandmas. But like realistically, that's not the case for most people.
But I think the biggest thing that you just said is just to be okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's going to be okay, right?
Yeah, it came out a couple of years ago. Alexi Pappas wrote a book called Bravey. She is an Olympian. She's from the States, but she actually ran for, she's got dual citizenship with Greece. And just hearing her stories, she ran for University of Oregon, which my runners out there, that's
a
like
track school. I know it. Yeah.
That's a big deal. And her bouts with depression and there's a lot. I don't want to like give away the whole book, but reading it, I was like crying. I'm like sending messages to like my old teammates because I was just like, we were able to experience something so amazing. Like being a college athlete is like, it's amazing. Like it's not, obviously I'm not an Olympian or anything, but you're at this like superior high level. And you know that it's not, you deny yourself the ability to be like, dude, you know that it's not going to be like this forever. Like you're never, you can't stay at this caliber forever. And you're going to need to like figure out how to deal with it. Like once it comes, and that's really what her book is like all about, because, you know, especially Olympians, like they're like, you peak and then you're like 25 and you're done. And then you have your whole life ahead of you. So
yeah, like I haven't learned life skills. I've learned this athletic skill. Like, what do I do? Yeah, there's got to be a major depressive piece that goes along with that. I know my brother was in the States on scholarship for baseball. He was an athlete. He got injured in his last year, and also he started skipping school. His coaches redshirted him. Like he was just not what he had planned to be. He planned to be in the major leagues, right? He had planned to be a super athlete, and all of a sudden real life hit him. He didn't know anything. All he knew was baseball. And that really hit him hard, like really hard, because it's like he had planned, that was his career. He didn't have a backup plan, you know? And now, you know, he'll be 40 soon. And it's like, I don't know if he would even have it in him to do baseball anymore. And that's probably really depressing for him to think about. Honestly, I haven't talked to him about it, but I can only imagine just the amount that this man loved baseball. Just to know that you don't do it anymore. Like, I don't know, that's gotta hurt. I've never been that close with anything to have that, but it's you with the gym. It's you with running or whatever. So
even my meal prep, that one pissed me off.
Oh yeah, the meal prep.
Can't get in that kitchen.
And I would be remiss, I think specifically because of the podcast and because what you guys speak on and your journeys and everything, I think I would be remiss if we didn't talk about like just a quick tidbit in terms of like nutrition of what you're putting in your body, and like, is it causing inflammation? And like, because especially like being in the States, right? Like, two horrible words I like to talk about all the time are going to be like chemicals and pesticides and hormones. And like those things in your food, guess what they cause? They cause cancer.
Inflammation, cancer, disease, unwellness,
toxicity,
mental health issues, gut disease. You know what? Canada's not far behind. We don't have quite the same aggressiveness as far as like hormones go, but like we are very close.
Yep.
It's like North America is a terrible
You
place
even
to
see
eat.
the change in the little guys, like our kids, from like what we used to eat.
All those kids have boobs.
To,
Little girls have boobs, or boys have boobs.
My girlfriend's kid's period.
My kid was 10.
11, I think. Oh,
my kid's 12. Her boobs are bigger than mine.
14.
It's
I mean,
bizarre.
that's still a little bit younger, but
crazy, right?
I think my sister was older than me, but it's crazy to see what we went through and now what our little babies are having to deal with everything that's changed in the food and stuff.
We figure too, the water, you get it out of your tap, it's trash. It's full of chemicals. You get it from a bottle, it's in microplastics. It's trash. It's chemicals. It's like, what do you do? What do you eat? What do you drink?
It's like how do you keep this balance of trying not to...
The trick is moving to Europe, guys. Like, that's the secret, obviously.
The trick is you're going to sell all your belongings. You're going to get a farm. You're going to get some chickens.
I started my first garden this year. I cheated, but still have it.
Yeah, good for you.
My sister and I did it because I'm like,
You know what? If you can eat what you've, I don't want to say created, but kind of
it
like
tastes better.
It tastes so good, right? Knowing exactly what went into it as well, what you put in your soil, what you put in your water. I mean, there's something so like healing about that alone.
Yeah.
Knowing
even having
what's
some
in
of
your
your, because she has a garden box too. Having hers last year, I was like, oh, this is so great.
Reminds me, I have lots for you.
Perfect. I'll take it.
My best friend from college, her wife started, like, she's calling it a resistance garden. It's massive, and she's like working with a couple of other like women in her neighborhood, so they're going to start to go to the farmers markets, and she makes her own bread. She's a brewmaster, and then now she's like she's got her own like little bread business. And I was like, I would so much rather give you $10 for this massive loaf of sourdough that like you made with your own hands, that I know exactly what's in there. Like, so I feel like we have more, depending on like where you're at and stuff like that. But I think that there's more options than people realize. And I think it's just more of a matter of saying, like, when you're looking in your kitchen and you're looking at your fridge, like, it doesn't mean you have to replace everything, but like, are there any small changes that, like, you know, how much went through to get to that, like, you know, fruits and veggies and things like that are always going to be better.
Reprogram your brain to like, okay, I'm going to take 2 healthy things today instead of like all shitty stuff, right? Like you have to
and there was such like a societal push in like the 80s and 90s, like, you should have margarine because butter is not good for you. And you look at the ingredients, it's like seed oils and chemicals and all the things. And like now the push with,
you to have the
for sure,
so you get sick.
Then like people legitimately believe that this is better for you. But then it's like now the push for like plant-based meats. Like, yeah, okay, I get it. If you're a vegetarian, you want something, but it's like when the ingredient is meat or chemicals, like you have to understand that this is going to cause some issues.
And it's like anything else. Like I was vegan off and on for like 2 years, and it was actually not as much about not eating meat. It was actually about all the things that I would eat with me. And it was like, okay. And I went the route where like, it was just like, it was like my own experiment where I wasn't really buying like plant-based stuff. I was buying dried beans, and I was buying more vegetables, and like I was making stuff. And it's not as hard as people think. And it was just one of those where it helped expand like this when I was getting more interested in cooking and stuff. I mean, I worked in commercial fitness for 17 years, and anybody that has been in that, like as a fitness manager, like you just work all the time. And like when I finally like got away from that, it was like, oh, I can cook dinner. I've never cooked dinner. I'm like in my late 30s and I've never cooked dinner on a regular basis because I've always been working until 8 p.m. And it was like my way of expanding. Like I need to learn more how to do these things so that as I expand my nutrition coaching, I know like what I know how to help my clients in a way that I always say I have all my beautiful, if you guys go to my site, I have all these beautiful certifications and all this education. 90% of the nutrition I do with my clients is from my mother, is from my Midwestern mother, and what I learned from her of how she cooks, how she grocery shops, how she cuts coupons. That's what we talk about.
Yeah, I'd love to get back to a place in society where that is a thing. That's what I'm working with occupational therapy. It's like, I want to have family meals. Granted, yeah, we're on the go, we have sports, whatever, but it's like on those days that we don't have it, there is no reason for the entire family to not sit at that table and eat a home cooked meal, not pizza, not takeout, not something from a can, something that I chopped up and cooked myself. So, we're working on it, but it's like we live in such a fast-paced society. It's like nobody literally has time for anything.
Your kids have so many different tracks and everything like that.
It's all about convenience.
It's important to me and my little guy.
That's good that you have that like slower pace. But just wait.
Yeah, I'm slow.
He's starting school soon, so just wait.
I know. I'm so scared.
Yeah, unfortunately, we just live in like such a convenient world, and I think convenience is causing everyone to get sick.
And everything we're putting into it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Strings, guys.
So why don't you let us know where we can reach you, where people can contact you?
Yeah. So easiest place is heading over to my site, which is just my name. It's lizrodriguezcoaching.com. I was shocked that I was able to get that domain, but I scooped it up. And there you'll find I've got blogs on there if you want to book a call with me, as well as you'll see my other links, like if you want to find me on Facebook, if you want to find me on YouTube. Yeah.
Amazing. And those will all be in the show notes as well, everywhere that you can access Liz. So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time and your expertise. And I love what you're doing. So thank you.
Thanks for having me on. You guys are awesome.
Thanks. So we've had 2 interviews today. Both of these beautiful women have said you need to move your body and you need to put some good food into your body. So
and pay attention to what you're putting.
And paying attention. Yes. Being mindful about it. So, like I'm feeling a little bit convicted today because
I'm like, I meal prep.
Well, I want to do those things. I told you. It's like I just mentally haven't gotten around the
And I told you I would help you, but I've just been so
One day.
We'll get there.
One day we'll get there. So once again, right under me, lizrodriguezcoaching.com. Check her out if you are interested in booking her services or learning more. There is also a link to a free ebook on her page as well. So check that out. Check us out underneath Ashley here, 2 Girls Without Cancer. We are on YouTube. Maybe we're in YouTube jail right now. We'll see. We are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We are on Spotify, Apple. I'm trying to figure out how to be on Twitch. I don't know anything, but check us out. We're on most of the places. So follow our show. We are back every Tuesday. So see you again.